So I had this idea recently, and if you remember, I had this idea all the way back during my 8mm review of the Kodak Brownie. And my idea was that I was going to start doing a series of videos about the different 8mm cameras and the different antique cameras that I have. Simply because, I realized, again, just recently, which is why this reminded me, I realized that as somebody who collects and uses these cameras, I've got some brands of cameras that you just don't find information about. You kind of look on the internet and you don't find anything. You don't find YouTube videos, you don't find breakdowns of the cameras and their functions. And so I was like, what the hell? I mean, I might as well, I've got the cameras, I might as well be the one to put those videos out there. So if there's any collectors or home movie enthusiasts like myself out there, you can, hopefully my videos are easy to understand and they're clear enough that that'll give you some sort of, something to work on, maybe help you understand a little more about your cameras. Because unfortunately, some of these I've just had to figure out myself, The Kodak Brownie is the only 8mm camera that I have ever had a manual for. The other ones I kind of just had to do hours and hours of research and ask around and learn their different functions for myself. So I wanted to put these videos out there and kind of to educate or entertain or what have you. So the one I have for you today is the Keystone K-27 Capri. This is a really cool little camera, guys. I got this just before Christmas of last year, Christmas 2019, at an antique store. I think I paid $17 for it. That's 17. So, really cheap. And it's a cool little camera. I'm really impressed with the footage I got from it. It takes crystal clear video. It's really just all around been a great little camera. So, yeah, as far as the outside, it's got this gray kind of textured finish. It's got this imitation leather on the sides here that just kind of adds some dynamic. That little window there is your footage counter. I don't know, there's kind of a glare on it. I don't know if you can see it or not. That's your footage counter. Tells you how much film you have left. Here's your trigger. You can push it up and it'll click once for single shot, or you can push it down to take video, or if you want it to stay recording while you have a hands-free, you just push it down all the way. It locks into place like that, and it'll still run. As opposed to the key style wind of the Kodak Brownie, this one has a hand crank wind. So you just wind it like that. Again, just works with spring tension and clockwork. It's got a real nice big viewfinder with kind of a yellow, I don't know if you can see that, a yellow perimeter around there. Shows you what the lens is capturing. It's a big, nice viewfinder. I cleaned that all out. And this particular model has 3 turrets on it. So you've got, this is the sighted one right here. So you've got your regular just shooting lens. Here, this small one, you've got a wide angle lens. And then this is a telephoto zoom lens, so you can see stuff that's far away. It makes it look closer. So that has been a really cool feature. Of course, I played with that a lot on the videos I've shot in this. And it's got this, this is your f-stop selector on the side here. So, it'll tell you like bright sun or, cloudy or whatever. You turn that wheel and that changes your f-stop. You can see down in there. Change your aperture size. And this is really cool. I haven't got to test this out yet because I actually didn't know what it was until I looked up black and white photography filters. I don't know if you can see in there right now. In that little circle, it's on the letter N. Then you have the letter H. and the letter A. So if you take this lens off and you look in here, you can see N is just a regular clear lens. H is a yellow lens. And A is a red lens. And I had to look these up to find out what they do. But I'll tell you, the yellow lens is for mostly, okay, say you're shooting vegetation, or you're taking a black and white video of some plants or a garden or something. Don't know why you do that, but just pretend with me. That yellow lens will take the black and white and make it contrast more the different shades of green. So, you know, the bluish pine tree will look different than the light green fern, and will look differently than the dark green moss. As opposed to just regular black and white, all that would all be the same color, and it would be just kind of confusing to be this amorphous blob of just gray. The yellow lens pops the different yellow and green hues so that they have contrast and depth. The red filter does the same thing, but with the sky. So say you have a shot where you're taking a shot of a mountain or something, to where the sky takes up a significant portion of the frame, or you're videoing a hot air balloon or a plane or something. The red filter adds depth to the sky. So instead of being dead and gray in the black and white, it will be a very dark color, and it will contradict the clouds and make the clouds look very white. So it will just add depth and kind of color, if you will, to the black and white, and make the sky look more alive and more real. So that's what all those do. Again, this little camera, I'm gonna have to say, this has some really cool functions on it. But right now, let's open it up and dig inside of it, and we'll see where I'll show you around the inside of this little camera here. So this camera is not atypical of other 8mm cameras. You know, they all pretty much, once you've seen one, you've seen them all on the inside. But here's the inside. You got your space for your full film spool. Kind of goes around, and you got a little pressure gate here. Put your film through, you run it around, and goes into your take-up spool here. So it's pretty simple. But let me take this piece of film, and I'll just show you how it locks in there. So we're just going to pretend, for the sake of pretending, that this is coming off a whole roll of film. So what that would look like is there'd be a roll of film up here, and you're going to want to turn it so that when the camera's like this, the shiny black side is facing you. Now, if you remember from the Kodak Brownie video, the shiny black side faces the inside of the camera. The lighter dull side faces out the lens, because that's the side that catches the pictures. So you put your full film spool in, and all you're going to do is take this film and just stick it back behind this pressure gate here. Kind of hard to do one-handed. Stick it back behind that pressure gate. Well, again, kind of difficult to do one-handed. There we go. Just going to stick it in behind that pressure gate, and it should look like that. Your film's going in, going around the gate, and it's going to follow the arrow and go up through your take-up spool. So let's give it a run real quick. Running well. So then what you would do is you would take this and spool it onto your take-up spool, and you'd be ready to go. So you'd do your filming, And then when you were done filming and your footage counter read exposed, you would take your empty film spool. Sometimes they just have, you take your take-up spool. Sometimes they've got this arrow. Sometimes it'll say film is only half exposed. Sometimes it'll be number 1. And it's just like the Kodak Brownie. You're just going to take it, put it over here, and then your full spool that was up here comes down here and becomes your new take-up spool. And you record the other side like a cassette tape. If you want more detail on that, you can go watch my 8mm review of the Kodak Brownie. I go into the 8mm film a little bit more. Basically, it's like a cassette tape. You record one half, and you flip it over, and you record on the other half. And they, when they develop it in the lab, they splice the film together and split it down the middle so that it makes 2. So that's how you work that. Really easy to work, just like the Kodak Brownie. And yeah, it's a nice little camera, guys. I really enjoy it. I haven't used it a whole lot, but the little that I have used it, I really do enjoy it. One thing I have found, though, that I think is worth mentioning, I'll probably mention it again in later videos just because it's so important. You have these suggestions right here for aperture settings for the different lights. I don't know if it's just the black and white film that is different. See, this is for color film, these suggestions. So what I've found is, more often than not, if you just go by these, like say it's bright sun and you have it on 8, it's going to be a little overexposed. It's going to be a little too bright. So I always find it best to crank it down, which a lot of hardcore film guys will say, no, you would rather overexpose it than underexpose it, because at least when it's overexposed, you can kind of tell what's going on. So that's something to keep in mind. I usually, if it's a full-on bright sunny day, I'll keep it usually at an F11. Around the evening time, I'll put it around an F8. And this darker in shade, I only use 1.9 for, say, like indoors. If you got a lot of light coming through the windows and you're indoors, that 1.9 will do just fine. But, yeah, there she is. That Keystone K-27 Capri. It's a good little camera. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next video.